Hi, it's Chris Watkin here, and I'm joined by Andrew Rome, who used to be big in the game at Knight Frank. You used to run the Southwest for Knight Frank, didn't you?
Yes.
Okay. And over a series of 6 videos, we're going to talk about what lessons we can learn from the past that will help the future of a state agency in the UK. Is that okay?
Good. Yeah, sounds good.
Stuff. So in this first video, we're going to talk about the power of process and what we can learn from our previous time in a state agency and what estate agents can learn from process to enable them with their new tech savvy ways to be better estate agents. I mean, fundamentally, you wrote, Andrew, a couple of months ago, and this is the reason why you're here, because I was absolutely fascinated with you, that the process of a estate agency is quite simple. It's just a case of matching buyers with property. What has changed? Talk to me.
I don't think that has changed at all. I think the way you do it has changed. And I think that people have gone away from, I think I said in that essay that somebody used to describe it as Billy Basic estate agency. So when I started, it was kind of almost like inventing the wheel. Didn't have email, there was no internet or anything like that.
Well, we used to have these hot boxes where you used to write on a piece of A5 card, name, address, telephone number, and what they were looking for, and the name of the cat.
Yeah, and sometimes they had holes punched in them for master bedroom, and another hole punched in it for a garden.
Hole punch? Wow, you were cutting edge technology.
And you'd spin them through, and they'd spit out the 24 people that it matched with, and you would then call them. Now, this all sounds kind of so archaic, I suppose, these days. But I think that it did really force you to know your buyers. And I think over the years, the property market has been good, it's been kind. Of course, there have been some massive dips, but it's been kind to people. So I'm not sure whether that skill hasn't been lost to a certain degree.
I mean, what year did you start to become an estate agent?
I started in 82.
82. I myself started in 92. So both of us you've been through 2, 3, possibly 3 recessions. I've been through 2.
Yeah.
But these youngsters have not, I mean, some people have said, especially those that have only been in agency 6 or 7 years, they've never been through a recession, have they? And could you call the 08, it was a bit of a dip. Well, in London it wasn't, was it?
No, in London it wasn't. I mean, in the country, which is where I've always, that's where I've always done my business, the country market went down whilst the London market went rocketing up. So, of course, that gap in value then grew, and so the demand came back. But the 2008 slowdown was long. It went on and on and on. The 91, 92 slowdown, 1992, was, I think, sharper. I mean, there were just no buyers. If a buyer walked into your office and they said they're cash, you went on your hands and knees before them virtually. But
was it shorter though? Because I can remember 93, 94 was still hard work, and 94, 95.
Possibly because where I was, it picked up. That kind of country, we had an incredible supply at that time. We had interest rates at 12, 15%. So we had a huge supply of stock, but no buyers. And as things have gone on since then, it seems to be that, I mean, especially at the moment, from what I can gather, a huge supply of buyers.
Well, to be honest with you, I mean, we're filming this at the back end of April 2021. I'm hearing stories of people camping outside estate agents waiting for them to open. I mean, these are scenes reminiscent of 1988, just before it all went pop.
Yes, and I remember being in an office one Saturday in 1988, early 88, kind of spring, and just thinking to myself, this is gone, this is popping. Now, statistically, I think it was 89, but it just felt different.
I mean,
you become spoiled.
Nationally, we're at about, depending on where you are, nationally compared to 10 years ago, the lack of properties on the market is 40 to 60% lower outside of London. But interestingly, in London, it's about 40, 50% more compared to 10 years ago.
Is it?
So,
I'm a bit
of a stat man. So in London, there appears to be buyer is the king, whilst outside of London, where in the home counties and the rest, the seller's king.
Yeah, I think within our business, the firm I work for, we always saw that different form of concentration as to what our agents in London would follow the buyers. As you said, the buyers were king, and they'd follow them. You could put them in a car and you could drive them around a whole mass of different flats or houses that were on the market, just with yourself or with other agents. In the country, it was always different. The owner of the house was the key. So actually, the kick of the job was getting the instruction. I found anyway, and I think most of my colleagues would agree. It was getting that instruction. You think right now
Because of lack of stock. But
Because
at
of
the
lack of
moment,
stock.
there's a lack of stock. Apart from London, there's a severe lack of stock.
Yeah.
So agents are putting their pants down on their fees.
Yeah.
But I mean, do you think we as estate agents, and coming back to the argument, the discussion, which is process, is we need to adapt to the market better with our processes and be better estate agents?
Yeah, I
because
mean,
of
when
it?
I wrote, Christopher, about processes, I was actually, yes, how you actually physically got in touch with your buyers and your sellers and things, but I was also talking about the process of the buying and selling of houses and how archaic that is.
Well, I mean,
that's what I was alluding to, certainly towards the end, how long it takes. And so therefore it's that management of expectation between buyer and seller. And we had the home plan, the home pack,
Home information packs,
sellers
yeah.
by home. I was quite a fan of that because actually it made people focus. Because actually, again, coming just from my background, which is country houses, there was an awful lot to them. And if you to find a buyer and then ask where the deeds were, seems utter madness. So if you're trying to sell any product for £250,000 or £1 million, whatever it might be, surely you should be making it as easy for the buyer to buy it as you possibly can.
Do you think that's because estate agents, you said earlier on, get the kick from the listing and then almost move on to the next one because it's like a drug?
Well, I think a lot of agents would say it's because the legal profession were not prepared to get the papers ready beforehand. And we'd almost get an amount of times you get your client almost on side to getting the searches done and finding where the deeds were, only for the client to then chat to the lawyer and say, no, don't worry about it. Don't have to do that. Yeah, it'll cost you a couple £100 and you don't need to do that. We can keep it updated. You then get a buyer, then they discover that they haven't got proper planning permission, or all these things then come up.
So in terms of what we can learn from the past to move forward to the future, number one, the process of estate agency is quite simple and it really is a case of matching buyers to property, and we need to use technology to its best advantage but not let get technology in the way. And also we need to look at the process of the conveyancing process to shorten that time.
Yeah, I think so. But, I mean, going back, especially the latter on the conveyancing side, but actually it's a people's business. So relying on email, it's not going to cut it. You have to know both sides. You have to be able to speak to them. If you possibly can, meet them and build out that relationship.
Well, let's go to the second video next, where we talk about technology and how the internet has changed estate agency for both the best and for the worst.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'll see you on the next one.
Okay.